I guess that's not going to work. Let's see. Hey everybody, welcome to the Constitution class. Sorry, it's taking so long to get this thing going. It's about 2:43. So if you want to jump ahead about 25 minutes or so, I'm sorry. Yeah, about 15, 20 minutes or so, well, that's when the class is going to start. So we're just going to wait a little bit here until allow some people to come on in.
Let's see if it'll start my cam.
Nope. Hello, David. Welcome. Hello, Tiffany. Yo, you haven't.
Not finding my camera for some reason.
Are you? Are you choosing the right camera option?
I've never reset it, but let's see. Couldn't find it.
I think he does, Maureen. I think so. I'm sure he does. We can ask him when he gets here. I can certainly put you into contact with him, and then we can. Yes, Dodgers, Michelle. I am wearing my Dodger shirt today. How can you not? Now you have to realize, Michelle, that Brady is a Padre fan, so he needs a little bit of help. We'll have to give him a little bit of grief, but got to be honest, I'm a little unsettled. I think the Dodger fans are way too overconfident with what's going to happen in with the Padres. I think the Padres are coming in hot, And I think they're coming in with a chip on their shoulder, and they are going to want to. They're going to want to beat the Dodgers bad. So, I'm going tomorrow night. Which is going to be a lot of fun. When Doug gets here, Doug will be here probably in about 15 minutes or so. He's coming there, CC. He's coming. He's having an issue with his computer. Is not reading his camera, so he's restarting his computer right now. Yeah, he has. He'd be happy to give out his email address. I can't remember exactly what it is. There's one that he uses that he gives out for the audience. I have one that I use, but I can't give that one out. I mean, I could, but that wouldn't be. It'd probably be frowned upon. I think Doug put a message out today saying that we were done with. I don't think we were done. I think we still have one more amendment to go. But whatever. Today is going to be the last day, and then we'll just have talk about stuff. Oh, where is the war hamster? No, I won't. I'm actually pretty good. If you tell me to keep something confidential, I'm going to keep it confidential. Hmm. So Warhamster's system got hijacked by a system update. So it's going to be a minute for him to get here. I suck at monologue, so you guys have any questions? Are you paying attention to what's happening in the world? Seems like lots of weird things are happening. Things that we probably can't talk too much about on YouTube. Hello, Monica. Where did you hear that, conservative cowboy? What's the source? Are you talking about Victoria Nuland? Or Yovanovitch? Indeed, David, indeed. Did any of you guys see the European Parliament bombshell that came out from, I guess the guy's name is Roos, Robert Roos? I'll share the YouTube link. Should check that out. So are we going to take bets today on Doug? It's 258. Elaborate on what, Dave? Oh, um, yeah, he'll be here any minute. He just texted me. He can't find the email. He will be here shortly, and then Brady will be a little bit late. I'll elaborate on that link. It was a member of Parliament, the European Parliament. I guess they had a pharmaceutical executive from one of the companies that makes the um, you know, and apparently they admitted that they had never tested it for uh, they'd never tested it on humans. He'll be here, Tracy. He's coming. Okay. Waiting on Doug. He's got the email again. What happened to your
I kept hitting refresh, hit refresh, and then all three of them popped up at once.
I was gonna say I sent it to you at 1:59, and then I sent it to every single email address I have for you again.
I checked the ILJ one, and for whatever reason, I wasn't getting it. And then suddenly so I kept hitting refresh and watching and looking, and then suddenly all three popped in at once. Because you sent 3 to me, right?
No, I only sent 2, but I sent on the second one I sent it to 3 addresses.
Okay, the third one would have been Reagan because I have Reagan forwarding to ILJ. So that's why I got 3. But then so suddenly I got all 3 all at once.
You're gonna have it in your Yahoo as well.
Okay. Well, I looked at Yahoo, didn't have it, but until I guess later. But anyway, so
today's a good day. You know why today's a good day?
Warhamster isn't here?
No, Warhamster's coming. Warhamster's having issues with his computer.
Oh, like I was?
But you know what today is, right?
Well, no.
Dodgers playoff game. You don't
who?
Exactly. You don't remember. You don't know what it's like playoff baseball. You've forgotten what that is.
Oh no, I know what playoff baseball is like. It just I haven't seen it in a while.
That's my point.
Yeah. I heard there's some other team in the LA area.
Yeah, that's a little further south. That's the Padres.
They're not in the LA area. Don't say they're in the LA area.
Oh, I'm not. No, there's only one team in the LA area, and that's the Dodgers. The Los Angeles Dodgers of Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Well, I wouldn't know because, to get into the stadium, you'd probably have to wade through so much homeless,
There's that. I will.
There is that.
I'll be experiencing that tomorrow.
You're going to the game? Congratulations.
I am.
All right. Well,
let's Warhamster's going to be he's going to be a little late. His computer got hijacked by an update, and he didn't have a camera, so he has to. He's watching us. He's watching us on his tablet, but he'll be here shortly.
Now, Tracy, I've been so busy I hadn't sent your book out yet, so I'm gonna send you 2. She ordered the Basic Constitution, and I haven't gotten it to her yet because I, I've actually just mailed out a couple of books from someone who ordered even before she did. So because it's taken so long, I'm going to add 25 myths to your order. Send it out to you. I'll get it out probably tomorrow morning. So I apologize. And the second thing is, Tracy, that's one of the best comments I've ever seen in the chat room, and only Douglas Adams fans understand it.
What? What'd she say?
Class 42, the answer to life, the universe, and everything.
Oh.
Only Douglas Adams fans will understand.
There was somebody here asked.
Did you get the book? Did I mail it? How come it's still saying I haven't mailed it yet? Oh, I'm really confused now. You got the book, but I must have forgot to check mark I sent it then. But anyway, that's still the best comment I've ever seen. Do you not get it on Class 42, the answer to... to life, the universe, and everything? You don't get
No,
it?
sorry.
Do you know who Douglas Adams is? Author, writer.
Oh,
You ever heard of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe?
yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
You never watched the movie or read the book?
No.
Well, then you're useless.
Sorry.
Yeah, Tracy, that's awesome. All right, well then I'm screwed up then. I must have forgot to mark that I sent it because I know I've been running late on stuff. In the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, spoiler alert, I'm going to spoil it for all of you. There's a supercomputer created over generations to figure out the answer to life. And then when they finally, generations later, are able to go to it and ask for the answer to life, the computer says 42. But anyway.
Gotcha. Okay.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, man. That's like one of my favorite books and definitely one of my favorite movies. They did a really good job with the movie too. But of course, they kind of squeezed in like 2 or 3 books into the movie. But Tracy, you're awesome though. Any hitchhiker compadre of mine, you're awesome. I love all of them. I've read Restaurant at the End of the Universe is good.
I completely understand the cultish following of certain things. I that's just not one that I have the inside track on.
Yeah, it's tongue in cheek humor.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, but it's good stuff. All right, so Warhamster in the chat room says go Padres. So is Warhamster joining us or not?
Ultimately.
Hey, Warhamster, we need to change that. It can't be the Padres anymore. That's a reference to a male figure. It should be go they.
Madres.
Or go them.
Madres.
No, because it can't be man or woman.
Okay, how about Fradres?
I just say them. Go them. Go they. But you got to put on your sunglasses to tell who they really are.
I will confess that I am I am not going into this Padres series bristling with confidence. I will say that I'm actually rather apprehensive because I feel like the Padres are coming in with an axe to grind, a bone to pick, chip on their shoulder, and very determined to beat the Dodgers. And I do believe the Dodgers are coming in with the determination to get past them, but I think it's going to be a much harder fought battle than many Dodger fans. I think a lot of Dodger fans think it's just going to be a cakewalk. I think the Dodgers will win, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than a lot of people are thinking.
I'm a raging Padres fan in this series, only because I hate the Dodgers more.
I get it. It's okay.
Now,
listen, I'm not a bandwagon fan, and a lot of people think I'm a bandwagon fan. I've been a Dodger fan since I was 8 years old.
My whole family were Dodger fans, hence the reason I'm an Angels fan. It was a rebellious twig in me.
I was a Dodger fan since I was the first. My dad took me out of school in 3rd grade and took me to a Dodger game. So, yeah.
I grew up watching the Dodgers. My aunt had season tickets. I saw live at least a dozen games a year from like the early 70s until darn near graduation from high school.
You know that I was at opening day with the beginning of Fernando Mania. I was at that game.
You were at that game for
Fernando. I was at that game.
Yeah, the Dodgers, I mean, I was there for... Garvey, Lopes, Russell, Say, Reggie Smith, Don Sutton, Yeager, Rick Monday.
You know I was there for the Gibson home run.
No, I wasn't there for that, and that was a very emotional moment just for baseball.
One of the greatest moments of all time.
Yeah,
we voted in the top 25 moments, the greatest moments in baseball history. I was there for that.
Oh, very cool. And so because I'm a rebellious jerk, I hate the Dodgers. I love the Angels because the whole family were Dodgers fans. And then my stepdad was a Chiefs fan in football. My real dad was a 49ers fan, so I chose the Raiders just to be a jerk.
Let's talk about the Constitution because we still
Yeah, Warhamster, where are you?
He's coming. He'll be here.
Darn computer. You know, Tracy says that she has a Ronce ragdoll. Yo. I used to have a what do you call it? Dodgers bobblehead thing, right? And I hung it on a noose, and eventually the head broke off. So I don't know where it's at now. So I think it was because I kept hitting it with a bat, one of those little bats. So yeah, just to tick me off, he's gonna wear Democrat blue.
Republican blue.
Yeah, I know. I remember back in the 70s, you were a true blue Republican back then.
Republican blue.
All right, so questions, because we have gone through the Constitution, we finished the Constitution, and there are a lot of questions.
I don't think we finished. We still had the last amendment, I thought.
No, we finished.
Okay.
I am 100% positive, but just to satisfy you, I'll pull my my S.
Do you see how there's like gold in that?
No, I don't see any gold.
You see how it's not the crisp white. It's kind of outlined in gold.
You're trying to put a halo, but it didn't work out, or
no? That's because we are the World Series champions. Just saying.
Yeah, I was pretty positive we finished everything. Do we still have more?
I thought we had. We did Amendment 20. I thought we did Amendment 26, but we never did Amendment 27.
Yeah, we did 27. Yeah, I made sure we did them all.
Okay. All right.
Why does my camera keep wanting to flicker? Did you see it flickering, or is it just me?
No, just you.
Huh.
Everybody's having computer issues. I was having computer issues last night.
I mean, I could go over 27 real quick. All it is it was one of the original Bill of Rights.
Oh, okay. Oh, you know what? That's right. I was having computer issues and doing something, and I didn't finish. I wasn't there for the end.
You withdrew.
That's
too
right.
Early.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Well then, let's just. Does anybody have any things that they would like to discuss that are not political?
The next couple of weeks, that's what I figured we were doing. Is we're gonna just talk about the issues that are going on and any questions people might have. You know, it's funny because in today's class, and I'll start with this, we were talking about Article 6, which is where the Supremacy Clause is. And I kind of told my testimony a little bit. I only spent about 5 minutes on it, but I wanted people... One of my frustrations is people feel hopeless.
Yeah.
They feel like there's nothing we can do. It's just, you know, you do this, they do that. You do that, they do this. It's just like there's nothing you can do. You know, they got the F-35s, the nuclear bombs, and you've got sticks and a hope for election integrity. You know, and so people feel a little hopeless. And real quick side story, we'll take 5 minutes to do this. Chris says we missed 27. Somebody else says and Joy says we finished. So I'm 99% positive we finished all of it. I don't know why I would leave one off. I don't see why I would do that. But anyway, when I was 19, I rolled my vehicle 8 times, no seatbelt, 80 mile an hour Toyota Tercel, and I wound up busting my head open. Crack went back like this across my temple towards the back of my head and then down into my left ear. I'm actually deaf in my left ear. The eardrum works. You could shout in my ear and it would hurt because of the loud noise, but I wouldn't hear it. And I have a continual ring in my left ear as well. And I was in a deep coma for a week and a half. And then after I came out of the deep coma for about a month and a half, I was lights on, nobody's home. And
So nothing's changed.
I have a lot of friends that go, "Oh, that's what's wrong with you." Yeah, no. Ignore the Dodger fan. Anyway, and so, I mean, who's got the screw loose? He's a Dodgers fan. But anyway, so that's the reason why you see me crack my neck all the time. If you ever wonder why I do a lot of this with my head, it's because my neck got so damaged. And from the damage, I have a lot of like arthritis in my neck, stuff like that. But anyway, so for a month and a half, lights were on, nobody was home. And then about a month and a half in, I became cognizant to a point, and it took me a while to come completely back. About the 2-month mark in the hospital, I was in the middle of anger. I was angry with God because 3 things that I was proud of, and you know what pride is all about, right? And what happens with pride, yeah. 3 things that I was proud of: my ability to run long distance. I used to run 30 miles a day. I ran marathons. And my knee was nearly completely destroyed. There was no way I was going to be able to run anymore, much less, they weren't even sure I was going to be able to walk right without, like putting in a fake knee or something. With friends like Ron, who needs enemies? But anyway, and so I'm angry at God because I lost my running ability. I had a high intellect. According to the tests that I had taken, my IQ had dropped like 50 points. I was still smarter than Ron, but, it dropped like 50 points. And then, hey, man, you're going to open it up with Dodger stuff, man. It's on. But anyway, he just chews and grins. But anyway, and then also I had what's called an eidetic memory. A lot of people call it a photographic memory. It's not really an accurate term. I could remember anything, everything. It was, my brother has kind of the same thing. And I lost that. And I got to the point where I couldn't remember what was said to me 5 minutes before. And so I'm angry because I recognize these changes, these differences. And so I'm angry with God. Time out. I can't hear you.
Did you see the news about Tulsi Gabbard?
Yeah. And I put a video of her talking on a Political Pistachio.
I just saw it right now. I was just made aware of it by Conservative Cowboy.
Well, she a week or 2 ago basically said, "Oh, this is not about Trump. This is more than that." And then now, this morning, someone made comment to me about her comment about moving away from the Democratic Party. She still has some leftist ideas, but she has enough of a brain to recognize craziness when she sees it. So I'm proud of her.
The one thing that always concerned me about her was she's a member of the CFR. But
yes.
That, so that there's always that. But I remember, I don't know if you were aware of my close relationship with Grunt Style Foundation.
Mm-mm.
And so I know the guys at Grunt Style and the Grunt Style Foundation, and I was working with them to get trying to help them get the PACT Act passed.
Yeah, these are the guys with the shirts that all have the flags and the okay.
Well, the PACT Act completely revamped the VA and how they treated guys who had been diagnosed or didn't understand. People like the VA didn't know how to deal with them in terms of dealing with toxicity issues, specifically specifically with the burn pits. What these guys were really working on was the guys that had been over in Iraq, who'd been victims of the burn pits. But the PACT Act went back and dealt with guys who were like on the atolls when they were doing the hydrogen bomb testing down in the South Pacific. It dealt with the families at Camp Lejeune. who'd been poisoned. I guess there was like some poison water or something. Um, it dealt with Gulf War syndrome, dealt with Agent Orange, it dealt with all of that stuff. So it completely revamped the way the VA. And when they were lobbying were lobbying in Congress for help, he told me, one of my buddies who told me that of all the people on Capitol Hill, the one who gave him the most help, who was the most helpful, was Tulsi Gabbard.
Hmm.
And incidentally, he said that the one who was the most who gave the most pushback and the least amount of help. See if you can just take a guess at who that would have been.
Bush. Hillary.
No, Congress. Congressional
Congress critter.
Congressional representative.
Oh, well,
Not a senator, a congressional congressman.
A Congress critter. Okay, so that knocks Gore out of it.
Crenshaw.
Really? You know, Dan Crenshaw's been interesting to me because I have met him and talked to him a number of times, and I like him. But at the same token, his affiliations and some of the stuff he's said and some of the ways he's voted has been questionable, to say the least. So, yeah, interesting. All right, so...
And believe it or not, the Democrats were the ones that were more amenable to getting the PACT Act passed than the Republicans. The Republicans were the ones pushing back on it. And this was to help veterans.
All right, right on. All right, so to get back to the story, there is a reason behind it. It's not just a matter of telling my story.
Okay.
Jen, brain injury is hard. It's hard to adapt. And is in the chat room. And somebody else also made a comment about being able to relate. And I don't see it. I thought there was another one. But anyway, yeah, I had a traumatic brain injury, TBI, basically. And I was having epileptic seizures, and there was all kinds of stuff going on. Anyway, so I was at a point where I was angry with God. I was angry about losing the things I was proud of. I couldn't think straight. It was hard to think. I was trying to basically clear my cognizance, so to speak. And you know, I had been angry in my life, and I had been fearful in my life, but that was the first time in my life I'd ever felt hopeless. And when you feel hopeless, it's not a good feeling. It's not a good thing. Hopeless means there's no way out. Hopeless is the place people get to when they decide to take their own life. Hopelessness is beyond fear and anger and any other emotion you can come up with that's in that side of the spectrum. And I felt pretty hopeless. I felt like there was no way to get back. There was no improvement. I've been told I would never go back to full duty. I loved being in the Navy. I wanted to go back to full duty. And I was going to be lucky to walk again and think straight again because of the head injury. The type of head injury I had, left temporal fracture, has an 85% mortality rate. The type of the type of head injury I had when it comes to survival, if you survive it, if you meet that 15% to survive, 95% of the cases are severely mentally disabled. Here I am, 15% living, 5% not severely mentally disabled. But nonetheless, I'm pissed off at God because I can't run anymore. I can't remember crap, and my high intellect has gone to damn near Forrest Gumpville. And so I'm brooding, angry, hopeless, and a new patient is brought into the trauma ward. Now, I'm on a trauma ward at Balboa, Naval Hospital Balboa at this point. Originally, I was at Palomar Memorial when I was in intensive care. So I'm at Balboa, and a guy comes is put in a bed right next to mine. It's a big ward. And most of the guys in there are motorcycle accidents. They got the halos going, most of them. But anyway, and he had fallen down 3 decks on an aircraft carrier, down something that was basically a dumbwaiter, and landed head first. And his injuries were so severe that the swelling on his brain required them to do a surgery where they put this tube from his brain through his body to his bladder so that it would relieve the pressure constantly. And he could never fly again. He could never go out to sea again.
Was he a pilot?
No, he was supply guy, supply department guy, and he was in pretty bad shape. And the dude was always grinning. He was one of the happiest people I'd ever seen, and it really pissed me off because I was mad at God and I was hopeless. And here this guy looks like he's worse than I am, and he's grinning. He's always happy. He's smiling. What the hell? So I decide one day to confront him. Say, hey, asshole, what the hell are you grinning about all the time? And of course, his first response was to smile, which just pissed me off all the more. And then he reaches under his pillow and he pulls out, Tracy, better drugs. And so Warhamster is going to the computer repair shop. Oh man, boy, it's a rough day for everybody. So so he reaches under his pillow and he pulls out this leather-bound book with gold trim pages that have the words Holy Bible on it, and he puts it on his chest. He says, "That's why." Now, I'm sure you've heard the stories of people who and Maureen, I'll answer your question about speaking engagements in a little bit. You've heard stories about people when they die and they come back and or right before they die or while they're dead or whatever, their life flashes before their eyes. You've heard that, right? Well, at that moment when I saw that Bible, something similar happened. All my anger flashed before my eyes. All of my hopelessness flashed before my eyes. All of my fears flashed before my eyes. And I came to realize, what the hell are you mad at? So you can't run anymore. All right, you're going to have to adjust because of memory issues, because of intellect issues, because you have a ringing in your ear that never goes away, because you're having seizures. So you'll have to adjust, but you're alive. God kept you around for a reason. You're a miracle. What are you ticked off about? You should be excited that you have a second chance. Hopelessness had put me in a place where I almost didn't come back from. It took the Holy Bible to slap me out of my hopelessness feeling. And so now I'm in this world where people politically are feeling hopeless. There's nothing we can do, Doug. It's over.
Can I?
And I'm like, you don't know what hopeless is, first of all. Second of all, it's never over. There is no reason to be hopeless. But I will say this. If we want to get rid of that hopelessness, we got to give people hope. And the way to give people hope is you remind them, especially if they're Christians, that with God all things are possible, number one. Number two, evil only wins for a season. They never prevail.
I'd like to read something. This is I stumbled on this yesterday. Actually I stumbled on a Sunday and I read it yesterday on the Glitch, but I'll read it here as well. There's only it's written by C.S. Lewis in 1948, and it was in
C.S. Lewis is one of my favorites.
It was in relation to the invention of the atomic bomb. It says, in one way, we think a great deal too much of the atomic bomb. How are we to live in an atomic age? I am tempted to reply, why, as you would have lived in the 16th century when the plague visited London almost every year, or as you would have lived in a Viking age when raiders from Scandinavia might land and cut your throat any night, or indeed as you already are living in an age of cancer, syphilis, paralysis, air raids, railway accidents, motor accidents. In other words, do not let us begin by exaggerating the novelty of our situation. Believe me, dear sir, madam, You and all whom you love were already sentenced to death before the atomic bomb was invented. And quite a high percentage of us were going to die in unpleasant ways. We had indeed one great advantage over our ancestors, anesthetics, but we have that still. It is perfectly ridiculous to go about whimpering and drawing long faces because the scientists have added one more chance of painful and premature death to a world which already bristled with such chances and in which death itself was not a chance at all, but a certainty. If this first point be made and the first point of action to be taken is to pull ourselves together, if we are all going to be destroyed by an atomic bomb, let that bomb come when it finds us doing sensible and human things, praying, working, teaching, reading, listening to music, listening to the children, bathing the children, playing tennis, chatting to our friends over a pint and a game of darts, not huddled together like frightened sheep and thinking about bombs. They may break our bodies, a microbe can do that, but they need not dominate our minds.
Sounds like something he would say about the scamdemic too. And actually, C.S. Lewis is one of my favorites out there. And one of my favorite quotes by him I actually use in my book, which should go on sale this week, Repeal Democracy. Not that I'm trying to top, I'm trying to add to. C.S. Lewis, of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. So yeah, I'm a huge C.S. Lewis fan. Thank you for reading that. I do have that quote. Matter of fact, I have it on my computer. I followed along with you as you were reading. It's a good one. C.S. Lewis is one of my favorites. The lesson here is do not despair. Do not change your way of life. Do not stop and huddle in the corner in fear. It tells us in the Bible not to worry. It's interesting because one thing I do know is that in Hebrew, which is God's language, the word coincidence does not exist. Even the worst things all work in the favor of God. We may not see that now. We may not understand why he would allow such things to happen. But in the end, it all works in his favor. So we need to remember that. And once again, evil never prevails. They can win for a season. And one thing I've learned about evil, and we're already seeing it. Matter of fact, I was on the phone with a friend of mine yesterday, whose name I cannot give you. He was the gentleman who talked to me about Building 7, who was a retired Navy SEAL, retired CIA.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to him yesterday on the phone. Hadn't talked to him in a long time. And we're chatting. We're going to get together for lunch probably tomorrow. We're not sure yet. We haven't picked a place yet. But and if he's going to be able to squeeze it into his schedule, much less mine. But he says something that was very fascinating to me. We live in exciting times. And I said, well, there's a lot of people who are worried who wouldn't agree with you. They wouldn't necessarily call them exciting times. He says, all you got to do is look around the world. People are waking up. Italy is an example for, just to give one.
I would happily take that woman's last name if she would marry me. That's a joke.
I almost feel that way about Carrie Lake, but I'm married, kind of.
Totally love that. Man, that the woman in
Italy.
Italy. Oh my God, she is fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I like Carrie Lake as well.
She's a right-wing fascist. This is the first time that Italy has had right-wing fascism since Mussolini, according to the left-wing papers.
Whatever.
But the whole reason why I bring this up is I want you all, though, to not despair, not feel hopeless. Don't do what they are trying to make you do. Their whole point of hitting you from all sides and making it seem impossible. And you say, well, we'll just do this. Well, how's, voting in the past hasn't worked. Well, then we'll do that. Well, that hasn't worked. And they're just going to cheat. They want you feeling hopeless. There's a way. We just have to open up the right box and think outside of it. That's what needs to happen. And we need to thank you, Citizen 1776. and we need to trust the Lord. And I know it's scary. But I will say this. I have a friend of mine. His name is Todd, and he's a historian. He actually attends my class, my Constitution class in Marietta and Carlsbad. He lives in Temecula, but he loves the Carlsbad group so much he goes down there also on Thursday night because he just loves the group down. It's a neat group. That's the group that Warhamster comes from. And Warhamster may be changing groups. We'll see. But I was talking to Todd about this, and he says, Doug, history-wise, this is just a cycle. I know that. I say it all the time. It just worked its way back around. And he says, and I love the way he said, yeah, in other words, right now, it's our turn. It's just our turn. It's happened over and over and over in history. It's our turn. And rather than feel hopeless, we learn from history. And if you look back in history, one of two things happens whenever things go to hell. Either collapse and balkanization, and then a rise of liberty eventually, or a great awakening. A rise in spiritual faith, which then starts turning things around. Sometimes the collapse and balkanization still happens, but the time of chaos is shorter lived because of the rise of spiritual faith. Sometimes the balkanization and collapse is avoided. Rarely. It's definitely the exception, but it can happen. We can shoot across from consolidation of government to spiritual awakening, courage, and liberty on the Tytler cycle. It's possible. Or maybe it won't. Maybe we are Cicero instead of Jefferson. In other words, instead of being like Jefferson and being the ones that get liberty going, maybe we're the ones that fight for it and then lose, but a future generation learns from us. That would make us Cicero. But whatever happens, it's worth the fight. And whatever happens, there's never time to be in despair. There's never a time to feel hopeless. Hopelessness takes away your willingness to fight. I don't want you to be hopeless. I want you to be empowered. I want you to be excited because we are on the verge of history. We are on the verge of either the second coming of Christ, a great awakening, or providing a wonderful lesson for future generations. Whatever it is, we should be excited to participate in whatever it is. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy. This is going to be tough. And if the left has their way a little bit longer, it could come down to arrests. It could come down to persecution like we don't understand as Americans. Americans don't understand persecution. We don't even come close to understanding what persecution is. Talk to a Christian who used to live in China. I have. Talk to a Christian who used to live in Iran as a Christian. I have. You want persecution? You want where if you mention something, your mother is killed to give you a lesson? Things like that. You want persecution? It's out there. We may have to go through persecution. I don't know. But whatever it is that we have to go through, be empowered, not hopeless. All right. Real quick, Maureen was asking, hey, Doug, if we want you to speak at an event, if we want to get you on as a public speaker, bring you on as a guest speaker, how do we do it? Who do we get a hold of? Right now, at the moment, Douglas V. Gibbs. I don't normally give out this email. I'm going to give it out to all you guys because, oh, heck, why not? So, Douglas V. Gibbs at ILJ.com. I love Jesus is what it stands for. Douglas V. Gibbs at ILJ.com. Now, that is going to be changing probably in a few weeks. But at the moment, that's the way to do it. In a few weeks, I'm going to have a team that's going to do it. I'm going to have an automated system where you'll get online, you'll request me, it'll check my calendar and tell you whether or not I can speak. But at the moment, until we get that going, the platform that's going to have that launches on November 1st. Hopefully, we will have it ready to roll when it comes to the public speaking and all that shortly after that. So my joke has been, but it's kind of serious, Maureen, you better get me now while you can still afford me. Because we're getting ready to put a lot of eyeballs on what I do. But I am always open to speak as long as I'm not losing money doing it. and that means that there is a speaker fee because I have to make up for lost wages if I miss a class, things like that. There's a group in Chattanooga, Tennessee right now. Matter of fact, I was on the phone with them last week, a week and a half ago, that are putting together the funds to. They one of their members of their group owns a B&B, so they already know where I'm gonna stay. It's just a matter of raising the money to get me out there, the speaker fee, all of that. But I am willing to come out and speak wherever it is, locally or not locally. Further I got to go, the more it costs. Locally, it's not very high because, especially if I don't have to cancel a class. After cancel a class, it goes up. But I'm always available. So to do that, once again, get a hold of me at Douglas V. Gibbs at ILJ.com. Douglas V. Gibbs at ILJ.com. I have to admit, I'm about a week behind on an email. I actually caught up almost completely these last few days because I took last week off. I was gone. And one of the things I did focus on was catching up on email. Once again, once I get this new platform, a lot of this stuff's going to be automated. Plus, I'm going to have people that are going through this stuff and sending me only the relevant emails. So we are in... how much does Ron pay me? Aside from a computer, nothing. But that's okay. He gave me the computer to help me out here. So I'll let him get away
Computer
with
and green screen.
it. And a green screen, which I don't use. I bought a bigger one. But I do use it for on the road, though. I take it on the road with me. That's what I use it for. So thank you. Not that I'm not using something that you offered, but I will admit also today, Warhamster would be proud of me because I'm drinking water. Citizen 1776. Come ask Doug questions for free. Yeah. On Friday, I've been doing a YouTube thing with him, too. What a bargain. Free. Yeah, but anyway. All right, so we're 45 minutes of the show, and we've talked about stuff, but we haven't answered really any questions. But I will... so what was it I wanted...
But
Go ahead.
next week, I am... I have to go back over to Arizona. The Cardinals, the thing that I was at last week for the Cardinals, they actually want to upgrade again that quickly. So I have to go back over there and deliver some more stuff to them. So I'm not going to be around next Tuesday. I will be driving back. So anyway, I won't be here Tuesday.
All right, so we'll take the week off again next week. And then, will I come to Kentucky in middle December? Maureen, if you guys cover my travel and get a hold of me at douglasvgibbs at ilj.com, we could talk about it. I did a speaking engagement in Nashville about a year ago. It was actually part of a tour. I did a Corpus Christi, Diamond Head, Mississippi, Nashville. Then I went to see the Ark, and then shot off to Colorado Springs. I don't want to talk about necessarily the amounts on the air. We can talk about them by email, but the speaker fee and travel basically is what I asked for. But I would love to come out and speak, and I've been to Kentucky, but not to speak. I spoke in Nashville a year ago. But I would love to come out to Kentucky, absolutely. And like I said, I've got Chattanooga, Tennessee talking to me. Maybe we can get the two of you to be close to about the same time. And I'll have to call Chattanooga, my Chattanooga contact, say, hey, man, do you think you can pull it off by the middle of December? It'll cut the transportation costs for both of you down by half. But anyway, yeah, absolutely. Once again, Douglas V. Gibbs at ILJ.com for now. SCOTUS suspending midterms, do they have authority to do this? No, they do not have the authority to suspend the midterms. The courts have no authority whatsoever regarding elections. None.
The federal courts, because the elections are state, the elections are handled by the state. They're not federal.
Yeah, and then even at the state level, the state courts don't have any say either. It's the state legislature. So so the times, places, manner, procedures, all that's up to the legislative parts of government. Specifically, state legislatures, although Congress in the senatorial and House Representatives elections can make some alterations if necessary. Notice it doesn't mention the courts at all in the Constitution when it comes to elections. So yeah, SCOTUS cannot suspend the midterms. If they do, they're acting illegally, and I think then that would be grounds for, well, we can't say it on this particular platform, but could be grounds for something. Just keep you-know-what dry. Not that I'm saying that's the ultimate solution, but it is a viable last resort. If we have here's the thing, and that brings up a thought here. People are asking me all the time about alter or abolish the Constitution if it should become absolutely despotic. That's what's in the Declaration of Independence. At what point is it insurrection? At what point is it abolishing or altering government as necessary? When government is following the law of the land, supreme law of the land, when they are a constitutional government, going against them could be considered insurrection. But it's because insurrection is against the Constitution, not the government. But if the government is acting in a constitutional manner, then acting against a constitutional government could be seen as insurrection. Anything else, and I'm using the I word, we'll see if that gets us kicked off, but anything else, if the government is acting in a manner that's not constitutional, their window of the I word being used, that doesn't exist anymore because they're the problem. Then it becomes a rebellion, and it becomes a legal rebellion. Because if a government is not following its legal foundation, if it's not following the law of the land, then it is the insurrectionist body. And then the people can, according to the Declaration of Independence, alter or abolish. And let's think about this for example. You've got the 6th day of the first month of a few years ago, right? Those people, what were they doing in Washington, D.C.? We'll see some of them were praying. Some of them were speaking their minds. Some of them were podcasting or writing about what they expected. Some of them, they were all assembling in that location, and they were all petitioning the government for redress of grievances. I just named the 5 rights that are enumerated in the Bill of Rights. The people that were in Washington, D.C. for the quote-unquote you-know-what riot, starts with a C, ends with an L, riot, they were actually they were expressing their First Amendment rights. And the first words of the First Amendment is Congress shall make no law. And if Congress shall make no law, and the executive branch is there to execute laws, and the judicial branch is there to adjudicate law, and the law doesn't exist because Congress shall make no law, that means that federal government shall take no action regarding those things. So you have a whole bunch of people that have been jailed for the I word for expressing their First Amendment rights, in which in the Constitution it says Congress shall take no law, and in relation to that, take no action. Think about that. That's huge, because I don't think people think of it that way. I don't think people realize what really happened there and what was really happening. Yes, so question, Raging Smirk, was the HAVA Act passed in 2004 unconstitutional? It was a federal act, and the federal government has the federal government can only alter the regulations or rules for elections for the House of Representatives or the Senate as long as it doesn't interfere with how the senators are chosen or change anything that's based on what the Constitution gives. Any other election, any other part of the election is totally up to the state legislatures. So yes, that HAVA Act of 2004, which is generally used across the board for all parts of the election, was unconstitutional. Absolutely. They had no business passing that law. They didn't have the authority to pass that law. And the idea now of trying to federalize elections is totally unconstitutional, totally illegal. When I say unconstitutional, I mean illegal. It violates the law of the land. The Constitution is the law of the land. Understand that. So unconstitutional means illegal. We have an illegal government acting in an illegal manner.
Can I ask you a question? When you
Sure.
say it's the law of the land, I feel like when you say it's the law of the land, it gives the impetus that the Constitution reigns supreme, and
It does reign supreme based on how the authorities are
it reigns
placed.
supreme to the federal government, but it doesn't reign supreme over the states.
Right.
So it's not
And what
necessarily
so
the
what
law.
does the law of the land say about the states?
Okay, but what I'm saying, I
I know the
understand
perception. I know what the
the
perception
perception.
is.
The perception is
And the
is that
perception is
that
wrong because it is the
I
law of the land. Because in it, what does it say about the states? That every authority is theirs unless it's prohibited or given to the federal government. That's the law of the land.
okay, I get that. But what I'm saying is that people use that as saying that it overrides. People
I,
think that it overrides their state constitutions. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying. And on the issues in which are authorized the federal government, it would. It's the law of the land. The state constitution is the law of the land for the state. The federal constitution is the law of the land for the country, but that doesn't mean that then it's just a blanket, a national government document. It is the law of the land. What it says is the law of the land, but what it says, not what you think it says, or not what, or oh well, then that just means that goes, that's incorporated or something. No, not at all. I understand what you're trying to say, and the problem is language has been the lexicon has been so monkeyed with that people don't understand. That's why I do these classes, to help you understand that. All right, I would like to learn more about how the electors are chosen. Where in the Constitution? That would be in Article 2, Gene. If you go to Article 2, I believe it's Section 2. Let me make sure here. No, Article 2, Section 1. Yeah, there it is. Each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors, equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which a state may be entitled in the Congress. So in other words, the state legislature chooses how these electors will be chosen. What they did back then, and this is, you'll have to look into history books for this, is the number of electors, and we're talking for president, is determined, according to what I just read, by the number of representatives and senators that a state has. Now, the number of representatives is based on what? The population of the state. The number of the number of senators is based on what? 2 per state. So, way they did it was whatever number of electors that needed to be appointed based on the number of representatives, in other words, their total number of electors minus 2, they would break the state up into districts and allow the people to vote for their elector. Then the state's legislature would choose the other 2, the senator, one one for their state house and one from the state senate. Some of the states, a couple of them, the state legislature chose all the electors. But it was up to the state legislature how to do it. Now, eventually, some of the states did away with allowing the people to vote for their electors, and the state legislatures were appointing all the electors. Then, after Andrew Jackson pushed democracy and the vote of the people started being considered on how the electors would vote, and I don't know what year this happened, I just know it did happen. Eventually, the legislatures backed off on how the electors are chosen because it really didn't matter now how they were chosen because they just voted the way the people voted. That they gave the choice of electors to the parties. And so now there's 2 sets of electors, a Republican set and a Democratic set. And whoever wins the state, winner take all, which also was not a part of the original game, those are the electors that vote for president. It's now just more of a, I don't know, I can't remember the word, but it's just a formality. Now it's just now the vote by the electors is a formality because it's based on It's based on how the people voted. And it was never meant to be democratic in that manner. It doesn't mean the people aren't supposed to have a voice. In most of the states, people were choosing at least, each section of people were choosing at least one of the electors. And the people campaigned for their favorite candidate. When Jefferson was, up for president, people were going up to the elector. Here's why we want Thomas Jefferson. Another group might show up and say, here's why we want Aaron Burr. Another group might show up and say, here's why we want George Clinton to be president. Another group might walk up and say, here's why we want John Adams. And the elector would listen to all these groups. He would have his own opinion, plus he would listen to the people who were supporting the different candidates. How did they make up the districts? They would try to break them up by population to make them even, sort of like they did with the House of Representatives. But because and often it was based on the way the House of Representatives districts were. Usually they did it that way, but not always. It depended. Let's see. So we'll go back a little bit here. Okay. States are sovereign, but they're allowing the feds to overrule us. Yes, Maureen, that's the problem. That's part of the problem. Let's see. Yeah, in Texas, we pick our electors at the state GOP convention. Yeah, because there's two sets of electors. There's Republican and Democrat. That was Raging Smirk, actually, said that. And then, so yeah. So anyway, so that's that. Good question, though. Very good question, Gene. Appreciate it. And, it's funny because the electors got to understand something. The president of the United States, you don't want him involved in your business. He's not president of the people. He's president of the union. Your concern as an individual citizen is more your local government, your governor, your city council, your sheriff, because they're the people that are directly engaged with you. The president of the United States is not directly engaged with the people. He's directly engaged with the union and foreign issues and disputes between the states. So his job is to handle those things so that the state legislatures don't have to worry about it. So really, he's serving the state legislatures, not us. So while our voice could be involved if the state legislatures allowed it, going back to Article 2, Section 1, it's up to the state legislatures on how the electors are chosen. They could just choose them all themselves if they want. That's up to them. The president is there really for the state legislatures. He serves the union so that they don't have to. Does that make sense? If you're going to vote for someone, you're going to be voting for someone who's going to be directly influencing you. The president's not supposed to directly influence you, so he's not your person to vote for. And that's why they didn't have the people in a national popular election voting for president. They had the electors who represented the states. The states, though, being the state legislatures, could choose how those electors, because it's up to them. It's up to the state. And they might talk to the people and say, hey, what do you guys think? Can we choose them? Do you want to choose some of them? How do you want to do it? Back then, there was communication, too. I know, we don't communicate real well anymore. Either you are woke or you're canceled, I think, is now the way it goes. But, that's just me. All right, that said, I know we're at the top of the hour, but I want to get to Conservative Cowboy here. Going by the Constitution, the 17th Amendment is unconstitutional because the Congress had no authority to pass the 17th Amendment bill to be ratified. Well, to propose it is what you mean, but I know what you mean, Conservative Cowboy. Yes, you're right. Article 1, Section 4 says, and I will read verbatim so that you can hear it. The times, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof, but the Congress may at any time by law make or alter such regulations, except as to the places of choosing senators. So if Congress has no authority to effect law when it comes to the place of choosing senators, more specifically through the state legislatures, then they had no authority to propose the 17th Amendment in the first place. Therefore, the 17th Amendment really technically is unconstitutional. That's very observant, and I think I've mentioned it too. But conservative cowboy, very observant, and people need to understand that we have a rogue government that goes way back. How rogue it is, it's getting worse, and they've been building upon the pieces that they've put in place, building it higher and higher. It's like a dog pile. Just keep throwing more bodies on top. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Mary Poppins, real quick. Shall we make the district smaller so that we know who's representing us? That is an idea by some people. I think it's a bad idea because by making the district smaller, what do? You increase the number of districts, which increases the number of people in the machine. Do you really want to feed the Leviathan with more bodies? I know John Cox, who ran for governor of California, that is one of his ideas. He had that idea long before he ran for governor. He was actually on my radio show 2 or 3 times to argue that with me. Also, if you look at the original Bill of Rights, there was 12 amendments that were proposed. 11 of them have become ratified amendments. The first 10 were the Bill of Rights, and then the 11th one was the 27th Amendment. It had to do with compensation for the representatives. The last one was never ratified, and I hope never is. It would require 1 member of the House of Representatives per 30,000 people. That would do exactly what you're saying. Marry and reduce the size of the districts. People think, well, gosh, if the district's smaller, they represent less people, they'll be more in tune with the people. If that were so, then how do you explain city councils? Their districts are smaller, and yet they're worse sometimes. The problem is, from the point of view of the people who operate the government, holding office is a position of power. And if something is a position of power, who is it going to attract? People who want power. The people who don't want power, the good people, have no desire to run. Why? Because they don't want the power. They don't need power. They're happy with themselves as they are. Some people who don't want power are smart enough to run, realizing that if you don't run, you get a bunch of people who want power. But there's not enough of us doing it. So what you do is you have on both parties a bunch of people who want power. That's why they hold office. So if you got a bunch of people who want to hold power all together in a room or a chamber somewhere in some faraway city, what's going to happen? Power games. Because that's what they do. We need to put good people, but the good people don't want the power. We have to convince them. And if they can't convince them, then you need to run, or I need to run. I've tried to run twice myself. I don't know if I will again in the future. We'll see. But we need
not corrupt enough.
Running. I'm sorry?
You're not corrupt enough?
I'm not corrupt enough, yeah. It was a rough ride, too, running. If the Supreme Court rules that states have no authority in states, could they say states can do away with Ruth's 17th Amendment? I'm not understanding the question. I think it's just because of the way you worded it.
What? Where is it?
Conservative cowboy. If the Supreme Court rules that the courts have no authority in the states, could they say that states can do away? Well, here's the thing. When it comes to the 17th Amendment, how is the way to get rid of it? Typically, historically, precedent shows you would need to repeal it with another amendment. You're never going to get Congress to propose that amendment, so that's where a Article 5 convention becomes necessary. That said, is it possible, because it has happened in the sense of ratification votes being taken away, is it possible that enough states rescind their ratification vote so that it becomes no longer applicable because it doesn't have enough ratification votes? In other words, could it be rescinded?
Is that possible?
Into obscurity. My friend G.R. Mobley seems to think so. I guess theoretically it is. I would still rather see it repealed by amendment. I think that would be a more solid way of doing it. But
what about the original 13th Amendment?
Well, that should be that should be in place.
So let me ask you a question. Obviously, it's theoretical because nobody knows. But if the original 13th Amendment was created and it should still stand, what would be the proper remedy to make that into effect?
For the states to start recognizing it as as an amendment.
Okay, so
So I think that the states
so
should
what would it be?
pass.
Amendment
I think
Amendment
that the states
13A
should
or
the states should start passing resolutions recognizing it as a viable amendment, as a real amendment. And we would have to then the 13th
Make
would
it-
become the 14th, the 14th would become the 15th, and so forth. James asked, "Do you think the same about smaller election precincts?" No, that's different. Precincts are good to when it comes to working locally in your communities. But when it comes to the representation of districts, you want to be careful not to put more animals in the zoo. Give them swords and let them fight it out. Tracy, you might be onto something there. Brave Ministries, we the people. Oh, never mind. You're too late. You're too late, Brave Ministries. We started an hour ago. But that's okay. We were just answering questions. We were just talking. There was nothing about the Constitution specifically today. All right. It's 10 after. I better get while the getting's good because I got Capistrano to get to.
main thing about the Constitution is that the Dodgers are going to win.
Dodgers are not going to win.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. He knows I don't bet, so he's not asking me for a bet. But what is the original 13th Amendment? Lisa, that is an episode for another, a question for another episode. But basically, in a quick 2-minute drill, it is an amendment that was passed, ratified in 1811. It was then in 1819, Virginia put out a booklet to remind everybody it was ratified because the paperwork got lost when the Library of Congress was torched in 1814 during the War of 1812. And basically, what the original 13th Amendment said was that any person, any citizen that either accepted a
Title of nobility.
Title of nobility, thank you, or title of honor, or accepted any presents or emoluments or anything like that from foreign governments would lose their citizenship. What this did is this disallowed foreign influence, and it ensured that lawyers would not be a member of the international bar. What that did is that removed the international legal system from our system. We didn't know about it until 1983. They did such a good job of basically just getting rid of it. And there are books printed in the 1820s that show it. And I don't own the book, but I have a friend that owns one of those books. And I took pictures of the pages. That's what I'm looking on. That's the reason I'm looking downwards. I'm looking on my phone right now to see if I can find them so I can read the actual amendment to you. Problem is I keep allowing the pictures to build up on my phone, and then I have to spend time getting rid of a bunch of them again so I can find what I'm looking for. But you can look it up too. The missing 13th Amendment, the original 13th Amendment. There's bound to be info online about it. There's been a lot of talk about it. The left considers it a conspiracy theory, even though it did exist. I have evidence that it existed, and I took pictures of that evidence. And I don't know where it's at. Dang it. I can usually find it until I really need it. But anyway, I'm not going to, unless I find it in the next 2 seconds, I'm not going to worry about it. But that's basically original 13th Amendment. We can do a show on it. Now, it does get used by
that might not be a bad idea to do that in 2 weeks.
Do it as a show?
Yeah, well, not necessarily do it as an entire show, but
a part of the show, yeah. Where in the hell did I get that picture? I have a picture of Charlton Heston kissing one of the monkeys in Planet of the Apes. I could find that, but I can't find my missing 13th Amendment. But anyway, there it is. So let me read the amendment to you real quick. This is the original 13th Amendment, which just vanished. If any citizen of the United States shall accept, claim, receive, or retain any title of nobility or honor, or shall, without the consent of Congress, accept and retain any present, pension, office, or emolument of any kind whatever from any emperor, king, prince, or foreign power, such person shall cease to be a citizen of the United States and shall be incapable of holding any office of trust or profit under them or either of them. And the book that my copy came from is called Military Laws of the United States, to which is prefixed the Constitution of the United States, compiled and published under the department, under authority of the War Department by Truman Cross, Washington, Edward de Craft Printer, 1825. So there you go. How's your memory? Hey Doug, how is your memory? Can recite this? All men are created equal when trained of abuse. So yeah, well that's what I was kind of reciting earlier. All right, guys. I appreciate the time. I do need to go because I got to get Capistrano. It's an hour away, and I like to try to get there by 5:30 and my time, and that's an hour and 15 minutes away, and it takes me about an hour and 13 minutes to get there. So, and we got a little bit of rain earlier, so it might take a tad longer. Yeah, it was raining down here earlier. I had to actually go through rain from Fallbrook to here, and it came down hard. But anyway, never rains in Southern California. All right, so.
By the way, just FYI, not that this really makes a big deal of difference, but the Astros are down 7-5 in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs to the Mariners.
Yeah, hey, I'm a Raider fan and Arkansas Razorback fan, so I'm not happy right now, right? My Raiders dropped like all their games but one of them, and the Razorbacks started 3-0, and now they're 3-3. So they went up.
Anyway,
so I'm not a happy camper sports-wise right now.
Drive safe, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right, it's good to see you guys, and appreciate you. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. That's right, because you're not around next week. So 2 weeks. We'll be back. All right.
Semanas. Okay.
Bye-bye.
See you guys. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.